what are higher dimensions? Hiya!
Dimension it.
So we all know about 3 dimensions. So imagine you had a box in your hand. Maybe, well, you don't need a box. Maybe if you just had a hand, you can see your hand. It has length and width and bread. Delicious bread. The crusty carbohydrates. So your hand has width and height and depth. That's the turkey dimension. So that's 3. Length, height, width, and depth. Somebody's practicing making their car go loud outside. Also, I think there's an aeroplane. And the next door neighbours. But anyway, this is a turkey. It's the 3rd dimension. So there's 3 of them. The height, width, and breadth. Let's do a cube. Keep it clean, family friendly. A box. The box has 3 sides. No, it has a lot of dimension. It has 3 dimensions. You've got the depth, you've got the width, and you've got the other one, the height. How you doing? This is great science. Don't you love it? The height. Right, that's 3. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter which order you put them in, X, Y, Z, Y, X, Z. It gets confusing when you start using computer programs, but that's fine. Then, of course, if you draw the backside of that's the backside. Wait, I'll turn it around for you. That's the backside of the cube. Anyway, the reason why you can draw the backside of the cube is because you can turn it around in 3 dimensions. So imagine if you just had a 2-dimensional square. Right, so this isn't actually 2-dimensional because it's a 3-dimensional representation of a 2-dimensional object, because it has the widthies and it has the heightsies, but it doesn't have the depthsies. I mean, it really does, because it's just ink from my very fancy Artline 5109A. It's cool. It just pretend. It's much easier to pretend going down to lower dimensions than it is higher dimensions. But we'll get to the higher dimensions.
Higher. Dimension it.
2 dimensionals. So you just have the one, and then you can have holes in things in 2 dimensions. And imagine if you were a tiny ant that was actually flat, or a flant, as the case may be. Maybe it's a tiny ant practicing making its car go loud. Maybe they're testing an engine. It'd be a 3-dimensional engine, because a 2-dimensional engine would be impossible. I'm thinking, maybe? I'm not sure. But say, for example, you had an ant, and you put that ant, there he is, look at him. He needs legs. There's his little legs, and there's his little antennae just there. Look, he's tiny, he's very flat. They don't have weight loss programs in flatland, as Carl would say. Do you know one of my children? I have twins, and Fee and Joe, and I was allowed to choose one of their names. So we gave them 4 middle names. Like 2 each, not like 4 middle names each. That would be crazy. But anyway, you put the ant in there. One of them was Sagan, because I really like Carl Sagan, because he was very smart. Unfortunately, he died of blood disease, which is a strange thing to think about. But let's not think about that. Let's think about 2 dimensions. We're getting there. It's okay. The 2-dimensional ant, Flant, and he's just walking around. His name is Mr. Flattery. I used to have a teacher named Mrs. Flattery. She was great. I drew a mountain, and the mountain looked like a monster. It was kind of like this. That's the face, and then there's the hand in the front, and then it had a little nose and a mouth and stuff, and some trees and clouds, and it was great because it was like a really giant sleeping monster. But it was the mountains, and I drew this, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Simon, this is an amazing artwork. I can't believe you would combine 2 of cool concepts and like monsters and stuff." And I was too embarrassed to tell her that I saw it in a storybook, and I stole the idea. Yeah, that was good timing. Don't know if you can hear that. That'll make no sense whatsoever if I don't edit this video, which I probably won't. Mr. Flattery, he's walking around in here. He can't get out because it's only 2-dimensional. He can't get over this part. So imagine he walks forward like this. He can't go past here because there's a wall, and he can't sort of squeeze through anything because it's just, from his point of view, I mean, it's hard to imagine a 2-dimensional view from first person point of view, or like first ant point of view. But yeah, he's trapped, which means an engine wouldn't be possible. So if you had a piston, there's the edge. Okay, well, a piston, and then maybe like a little bit there, a little bit there. And then you've got the piston that comes down. There's a bit there. This is the carburetor. Anyway, and then you fill this here with fuel, and then you have a little, and then that's the spark plug, and it sparks the fuel, and that makes Mr. Flattery very dead. But it means that it would push this up. And actually, I think I just proved that a two-dimensional engine would work. No. Yes. I don't know. Mr. Flattery would still be trapped. He wouldn't be able to get out. Also, you wouldn't be able to eat anything. Let's have a look. Let's have a zoom in on Mr. Flattery in 2 dimensions. So we've got Mr. Flattery's head here. Let's give him an eye. Just there, beautiful. And this is the middle of his head. And his other eye there on that side. And he's got a little mouth here. So this is the top-down view because we're in the 3 dimensions. That's where we are. And these are his eyes. And he's looking a little bit concerned. And these are his little antennas sticking out the side. They help him navigate the 2-dimensional world. But the problem is, if he went into a stomach here, like this, and there's his body, like so, and there's his butt, it's his butt. Science is very serious. That's why it starts with
Looks like it's raining.
He'd eat the food through the front, and then there's his stomach. But then where's the food gotta go? Because you can't, if you continued his digestive tract all the way, digestive tract, had a little exhaust area down the back here, between the buttocks, and you'd actually essentially split him in half, and he would be 2 separate things. Weird, right? So he wouldn't be able to eat anything. Also, he needs some legs. There we go. Not to scale. So that's why 2 dimensions is confusing. Nothing to do with my explanation. So then imagine wire. Would you ask to imagine? Because that would be a 1-dimensional thing, a line. This is just like a 3-dimensional representation of a 1-dimensional idea, so it doesn't quite work. So we're going down. Remember, see, we started with 3 dimensions. A butt, and the line needs a butt, is that what you said? Yes, definitely. It doesn't quite work. Anyway, this is still a line. So imagine a line without thickness. So you can't really do that because it doesn't make any sense, because then the light wouldn't bounce on it anyway. And photons, as far as we know, are 1-dimensional. Although they're also a particle and a wave.
Hiya.
So imagine, okay, we've got 2 points here. So this is 1-dimensional. There's just the width or the length, whichever you'd like to choose. You've got that. And then, of course, you've got the 1 dimension. So we can just do these 2 at the same time because 1-dimensionals and 2 dimensions basically similar, right? So anyway, you've got this 1 dimension. It doesn't have any width or breadth or width. So if you zoomed in on it, I'll zoom in on it. You ready? Doesn't change. Doesn't get any bigger or smaller because there is no big or small in 1-dimension space. There is just point. What? That's it. Nothing. So that point has to exist inside higher dimensions, like a 2-dimensional. So that means you could put this little tiny point of no width and he's gone. May he rest in peace. He wouldn't be resting in pieces because he's just a point. He wouldn't be able to be broken up into pieces, which is like an electron. We don't think that we can break up an electron into pieces. Although it is just more like a probability wave function. A wave function, you say?
Hiya. Dimension it.
Dimensions. Higher dimensions, that's what we're talking about. You could take this little dot, this little point, and you could move him along here. And here you could put him anywhere on this line. The butt kind of confuses things because then it's going like down in 2 dimensions. Because you've got to remember, on our whiteboard, sorry, itchy moustache. We've got up and down, but we also have side to side. We also have depth as well, which is the thickness of the ink on the whitey boardies. There you go. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, so that's 1 dimension. So 1 dimension, where do you smooth that? This arrow needs to go. We've got 1 dimension, which is a point. We have 2 dimensions, which is all infinite points along a line. So you can move it back and forward along the line. Doesn't, can't go anywhere else because there's that. And then you've got 2 dimensions, which is you've got up and down and left and right. Ooh, that's not 4. It's just up and down are the same thing. So you could say up and left. And then to go right, you have to turn around. And then you'd be going the other way anyway. But that's it. You've got 1 here and 1 here. So that's 2 dimensions. This one only has 1 dimension. There. This one doesn't have 0 dimensions. That's confusing. I think I've just disproven the idea of dimensions in the universe. Whoa. This is a zero-dimensional object. It's not a one-dimensional object. This is a one-dimensional object. I've confused myself. I hope you are too, because that's the that's the prerogative of a madman explaining science. But so yeah, that's a one-dimensional, that's a zeroth dimensional. So just ignore everything that I said up until this point.
Yeah.
You've got a two-dimensional, then a three dimensions. What you do is you take the two-dimensional object and you extend it in space, like this. Whoop. Right? So then you've got this object that's been extended or extruded into space, which is why I thought if you extruded one-dimensional, if this was a one-dimensional object, which it might be, right? A one-dimensional object, and you extruded it along one dimension, that would make it, oh, I see, the extrusion, the extrusion makes the dimension. I'm gonna get that on a t-shirt. Maths? Maybe. Lastly, you've got the one dimension, and then you extend it to another guy, a friend, a little pointy friend. He's nice. I like him. There's people practicing their engines again outside. Lovely. So you extend it, that gets one dimension, and then you write the letter number one, not the letter one. I'm not sure what that is. That would be the letter one. There's one letter. Yeah, look at it as one letter. Who gonna call? Ghostbusters! So one dimension, right? And then you extend that one dimension along another dimension, which makes another dimension. So you just bring that line, imagine you go, you gotta make the sound effects so it makes more sense, right? And then you extend, you join them up. Two dimensions, there you go. Oh, that's amazing. Then you take that two dimensions and then you extend it into the whiteboard, but not like, I don't want you to break the whiteboard. Be nice to my whiteboard. I use it quite a lot. It helps me think. So you extend it like into the background. There we go, and then you join it all up. Now I'm gonna draw these as lines, and you can kind of see through them, so you can see like this. Oh, and I've ruined my two. Hold on, just put the two there. Then you extend it, and imagine there's points all in the corners here. Look at that. 3 dimensions. 1, 2, and then 3 going into the darkness. If you can imagine this, we're going to go into a higher dimension, the 4th spatial dimension. Let's not talk about time, because that's very confusing, because space and time are linked. So you've got three spatial dimensions and a time dimension, but we're going to imagine another 4th space dimension. So imagine if you went on to each one of these points, like we did with the points on this 2-dimensional object, and we extended it at 90 degrees, because it's very hot in here, which is why I have my disco ball, because it's cool. I think that's the best joke of this video. Anyway, you take every one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, and you extend it in the 4th dimension at 90 degrees to the line that was made by it in the beginning. I hear voices. They must be from the 4th dimension. Apparently you also have a lisp in the 4th dimension. Excuse me. There you go, extended into the 4th dimension. And then another one into the 4th dimension. And another, and another, and another, and another, and another. There we go. And then you just line them all up. You confuse yourself thoroughly, but also, hold on, do the background. There's one. Oh, no, I did that wrong. Just ignore that dimension doesn't exist. Did I do it? I think I did it. That'll do. It's a tesseract, like from Marvel. You know when Loki grabs the tesseract? It didn't lack any acting, because he's an amazing acting. I love that guy, Tom Hiddleston. He's so dreamy. This is a tesseract, which is a 3-dimensional, well, this is a 2-dimensional representation of a 3-dimensional shadow of a 4th-dimensional object. In the same way that this is a 2-dimensional representation of a 3-dimensional object. It's actually 3 dimensions though, because we live in a 3-dimensional world. And like you're looking at this in a supposedly 2-dimensional, but it's just a screen. So like these pixels have depth, but it's like really small, so you don't have to worry about it. They call graphene a 1-dimensional substance, which is weird because it's just a lattice of atoms. I love Adam. He's a nice guy. Anyway, so this is their Tesseract 4th dimension. So that's how you get to the higher dimensions. It needs a face. The screaming Tesseract of Doom. Coming to get us all. Higher dimensions. A wonderful explanation. It's wonderful to think about. Very confusing. And there's a lot of maths involved. Numbers and geometry. But I never studied rocks at school. No, there's geology. Rocks are usually 3-dimensional. Anyway, thank you so much for breathing. And remember, be kind, be curious, and stay awesome. Let me know in the comments if you learned anything.